Well, folks, it finally happened. Not only was the highest round ever achieved on Shi No Numa broken, but the highest round ever achieved in zombies was recently set. RIVV played Shi No Numa over the course of 20 days and 95 hours of in-game play time. He was able to reach an all-new, all-time zombies record of around 9,948. Let me say that again, 9,948. This is a feat for the zombies history books, and I bet Treyarch never dreamed that this was possible when they released Shi No Numa over 10 years ago. Let's go back in time, though, to properly tell this story. 2 years ago in April 2017, INSTERKILLER went on an 88-hour tear and slayed hordes of the undead all the way to around 9,072. The game unfortunately ended with an insta-kill round that went awry, but nonetheless, history was made. INSTERKILLER not only held the Shi No Numa world record, but the all-time zombies record. This record held firm for over 3 years, and not for a lack of effort. Many people tried. Players such as CRUPPZ have made several attempts at this map, but the higher you climb up the mountain that is the round counter, the more precarious your ascent gets, and the more likely you are to eventually crash or go down. The record was undoubtedly beatable, but it stood for so long that it almost felt untouchable. INSTERKILLER was destined to be forever immortalized in COD Zombies history. Then came along RIVV 10. RIVV was a relatively unknown member of the high round community. He's not a new member. It's hard to say how long he's been around. He at least hasn't been streaming on his RIVV 10 account for very long. He seems though to have been floating around for the community for a bit and has been a regular member of some community members' streams. He wasn't that prominent or well known as a player though. He certainly didn't hold any records. Then about a month ago, RIVV started streaming Shi No Numa. In fact, it was all he was streaming. RIVV was quietly toiling away at Shi No Numa in relative silence. And when I say silence, I mean quite literally. He wasn't speaking into a microphone and, well, hardly anybody was watching. There wasn't much buzz around this new streamer. He was just grinding away in relative obscurity. During his early period of grinding, he found himself reaching as high as around 1,802. And in an old stream, when asked about what his goals were, he reluctantly described his pursuit at the Shi No Numa world record as, if it happens, it happens. Then, on May 27th, RIVV started streaming a game of Shi No Numa that would be one for the history books. Over the course of 17 days, RIVV slowly climbed up the mountain that is the round counter and found himself getting closer and closer to the record. He even got as bold as to taunt the world record gods by putting at around 7,202 as he was getting pretty close to INSTERKILLER's 9,072, INSTERKILLER's record on screen, which clearly stated to everybody watching what the endgame was. The pursuit paid off, and over the course of 17 days and 86 hours and 40 minutes of playtime, he was able to reach INSTERKILLER's famed round 9,072. And he was greeted by a nuke and an insta-kill, which would then go on to make round 9,072 a breeze and let him easily cross the finish line into round 9,073, thus setting zombies history and achieving the highest round ever on Shi No Numa, but more importantly, the highest round ever achieved in zombies.
Oh my god! Oh, and it's a dog round. Oh, let's go, dude. World record.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is zombies history. RIVV played on and eventually reached round 9,948. He played for 95 hours and it ended, well, tragically. He was just 52 rounds away from the world's first ever 10K. He was so close. And the game didn't crash, it didn't freeze, and it didn't reset. The zombies simply just got the better of RIVV in this tragic moment.
No, dude! Fuck!
95 hours of playtime, certainly not wasted because RIVV holds now the all-time zombies record, but it is a little bit disappointing that we're going to have to wait a little bit longer for the world's first 10K game. And it's a shame because RIVV was playing a relatively conservative game on his way to 10K and could have actually potentially reached 11,000 plus. So for those who are new to my channel, or those who haven't seen my previous Shi No Numa world record videos, let's quickly discuss how something like this is possible. Shi No Numa is like the perfect storm for high rounds. You have all these features meeting on one map that are conducive to a high round run. The first is that there's only 24 zombies per round. Shi No Numa is the last map that caps the zombies per round count at 24. From the RIVV and on, the number of zombies per round increases exponentially with each round. But at Shi No Numa, whether you're on round 100 or round 9048, you'll only have 24 zombies per round. You also have dog rounds, so potentially 1/5 of all your rounds will be dog rounds. You also have the Wunderwaffe at your disposal that can kill the zombies at any round, and since you're guaranteed a max ammo every 4 to 5 rounds, you should in theory never really run out of Wunderwaffe ammo. Lastly, you have insta-kill rounds, which is a bug in the game that causes a zombie's health to break somewhere between round 201 and 213 on Shi No Numa. Typically though, it happens at round 208. I've talked about insta-kill rounds at length in previous videos, and these videos go into the math behind it. I'll link them in the description if you want to check it out, but for all intents and purposes, the zombies, for some reason, at around round 208, function as if you have insta-kill and you can mow them down really easily. So all these factors combined, plus the luxury of perks and traps, make Shi No Numa a map that is conducive to super high round runs, and this is why the leaderboards for this map look so wild. So you might listen to this and think that, well, then it'd be easy to break this record, and it should be, but the previous record stood for over 3 years. Part of the reason this record stood for so long is that when you're playing for 80 hours plus, potentially 95, maybe 106 hours if you're going all the way to reset, the odds of something eventually going wrong are pretty likely, and there's a number of things that can go wrong. Running the flogger can cause frame drops and potentially cause your game to freeze. You can also drop frames from grenades, and sometimes it's been theorized that when you're shooting the waff in the water while using grenades, you can actually cause the game to freeze and error. So the game gets ever more unstable as you go higher in the rounds, and you're going to start to drop more frames as you continue to play on. If you watch RIVV, you'll notice that he was dropping frames at points during his run. And it's thought that part of the reason RIVV didn't get any crashes, in spite of the fact that he was dropping frames, was because of his relatively conservative playstyle. You'll notice when he's throwing his grenades in the water, he's not shooting the waff as well, and he's using the grenades only in the water and not while also shooting the Wunderwaffe. And he does run the flogger, but it seems as though he was using it progressively less as the game went on. You might be asking yourself, theoretically, in a world where nothing goes wrong, how high could you push this map? It's theorized that the reset time for this map is 106 hours. A reset time is the amount of time that you can play the map before the game literally resets you back to round 1. This comes from the game continuously adding up entities present in the map over the course of an entire game. Once it reaches the limit of entities it can count over the course of the game actually resets you back to round 1. So that's what this means when you say a reset, and it's estimated that you can play for 106 hours of in-game time before you reset. This reset time, though, should be cut in half on PC, so if you want to make a run like this to the world record, you need to play on console, and the most stable console to play on for this is actually Xbox 360, believe it or not, the original one, not on an Xbox One. You can do it on a PS3, but that may potentially be less stable. You want to be playing on an Xbox 360 like we're back in 2008. That's what you need to do to be able to push this record, and if you're moving at RIVV's pace, you should be able to reach around 11,000, somewhere in that ballpark. It should be noted though that there are newer, faster strategies that will allow you to play up to potentially 13,000. The newest strategy is known as the 2020 strat, and it's a pretty quick strategy. It's complicated to explain, but when you're running the 2020 strat, you're using the waff exclusively, and you're staying between the first island on the way to the doctor's quarter and the big building, and you're jumping between that big island and then into the doctor's quarter once the spawns kind of flood in on that side of the map. If you want, you can go check out CRUPPZ as he streams the 2020 strat. He's the one really pioneering this strategy right now. I'll put a link to his Twitch as well as an example of the 2020 strat in the description if you want to get a better sense of it. This isn't the strategy that RIVV is running. As you can see in his gameplay throughout this video, he's actually just playing in the flogger area, which is the most common strategy on this map, and I've talked about that in previous videos as well, although it's pretty easy by watching to get a sense of how the flogger area works. Assuming we don't work out a much faster strategy, 13,000 might be the upper limit for not only Shi No Numa, but for zombies in general. An interesting tidbit though is that not only do you have your reset timer that you need to be playing for, but your screen will also go black if the application has been open for 25 days or longer. After that, you have to wait another 25 days for the black screen to go away, and the game will then begin to play again as if it was normal. If you want to avoid the black screen and get all your 106 hours in before black screens, then you need to play on average 4 hours and 14 minutes per day. And if you cannot keep pace, your game will black screen before you reset. So that's if you want to reach around 13,000 or try to break the world record on Shi No Numa. In the meantime, RIVV will be holding the all-time zombies record of 9,048 rounds. Congrats to RIVV for creating zombies history. I recommend all of you check out his Twitch in the description. He's blowing up right now. It was funny watching his streams when he was just kind of slowly going up the leaderboards, and there were maybe only ever 5 or 6, 10 people watching at a time, and then it blew up. I would recommend you guys check him out, show him love, congratulate him. This man is the zombies king now. I'd also like to thank CRUPPZ for helping me make this video. He looked over my script, helped me fact check this, and I just want to say thank you so much for helping me out. And CRUPPZ is definitely one of the most knowledgeable World at War players out there, so do check out his Twitter and his Twitch. They're in the description and on screen. I absolutely recommend you check it out. I must say, it's disheartening to see that we couldn't see our first ever 10K zombies game, but who knows? Maybe because RIVV got so close, this will potentially inspire more people to call to action and try to break the record. Game on, everyone. That's going to wrap up this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a like, subscribe for more. I'm going to be continuing to cover zombie records, so if you enjoyed this video, I'm sure you'll enjoy the next one. Have a wonderful day, and bye.